Hello and welcome. We are Fortune Teller Team Blue. My name is Gavin Maestas. To my right is Victoria and Ahmad. To my left is Adam and O'Day. And behind me is Kevin. We're going to talk to you a little bit about how we built and designed Kevin over this senior design process. At the beginning of this process, we were given a design problem statement. Our task was to build a device, electromechanical in nature, that would recognize certain aspects of a user and engage in a series of questions before creating a fortune or giving advice. The fortune teller would have controlled movements of the head, eyes, mouth, and one arm or hand, and would speak canned questions based upon facial recognition data and analysis. The fortune teller may be from any period in time and must have a backstory. We were also required to submit IRB requirements because humans would be interacting with our device. Next, Victoria is going to talk to you about the design summary.
For our design summary, we first developed a backstory. In our backstory, Kevin is an alien from another planet, and he has been exiled here to Earth to give fortunes to people on our planet. We then developed a fortune teller program that would ask yes or no questions to each of the users. We then used facial recognition to determine a user's age and their gender. A GUI was created so that users could interact with Kevin. Finally, we used an Arduino to be able to control all of the motors, and we designed most of the components of Kevin using CAD. For our project backlog and sprints, we hit 7 major milestones to be able to create our final composition. We started by writing the backstory and creating a user and deciding on user interaction. We then started writing the fortune teller code and started designing in CAD. When we finished the CAD design of the head, we started designing the CAD body. We also started ordering the parts. Next, we started designing the GUI and writing the facial recognition in Arduino code. The tentacles were next to be completed and the head was constructed. Finally, we started working on the base, and in the end, we put all of the code together for the GUI, facial recognition, and Arduino. Next, we're going to have Adam talk to you about the project description.
The fortune teller main design consists of a body, a base, GUI, facial recognition software, and Arduino coding. The body consists of a main body made out of PVC pipes, tentacles made out of silicone, and then a head constructed of ABS printed material, PVC pipes, and Delrin. In our design, we have 2 sets of motors, one for the head and one for the tentacles. The GUI consists of 4 buttons, a begin program button, yes and no buttons, and a quit button. The user begins the program by pressing the begin button program and follows a set of questions and answers, ending with a fortune by using the yes and no buttons. The user can quit the program by pressing quit, or begin the whole program all over again by the begin program button. Now, Victoria is going to talk about the base design.
The design of the base had 2 main aspects. First, we had to create a housing that would house all the circuitry and the wires, and they also had to create a support for our Microsoft Surface, which would house the GUI. For the base, we made a space shuttle type design to make it seem like Kevin was sitting in a space shuttle, and we used aluminum to wrap around the front to give it a shiny look. For the stand for the interface, we used CAD to design the tentacles that hold it up, and we 3D printed these, and then we used plastic to create the solid surfaces that lie on the top, making it see-through so that people can look in and see all the wiring that was necessary. Next, we're going to have Ahmad talk about the facial recognition software.
Thank you, Victoria. Next, I'll talk about the facial recognition code that we needed to incorporate into this project. We have this facial recognition code set to get the age and gender of the user so that we can give the user more personal experience while running the program. Right here in the eye of Kevin, we have a camera which will capture images using an OpenCV library, and it will save the images temporarily onto the computer. Using the IDEA program that we bought, we analyze each image individually so that we get an age and gender, which will average and output as a text file so that the fortune teller code can use it and ask any questions later in the program. Next, I'll pass it on to Gavin to talk about the fortune teller program.
Thank you, Ahmad. We first developed this fortune teller program in Java because it was the language that was known best to most of us. But it was later found that we would need to translate this into C++ in order to communicate with the rest of the system, namely the facial recognition software. The fortune teller program really provides Kevin with a personality. The questions that we came up with are meant to be funny and sarcastic and really give Kevin something different than other fortune tellers. Our code is broken up into age and gender categories, or age and gender blocks. So once the information from the facial recognition software is gained and the age and gender determined, the program routes the user into one of these age-appropriate question blocks, and then provides a fortune after the yes or no questions are completed. Next, Ode will talk to you about the Arduino system.
Thank you. I am Ode Abdelkader, and I am the electrical engineer of the group. I essentially worked on the Arduino and the circuitry. We use the Arduino to control the movements of the fortune teller. As you can see in Kevin, right next to me, his head is moving and the tentacles are moving. That is done through a servo motor and 2 stepper motors. To power all of that, we had to use an external power source since the Arduino is only able to provide 5 volts using the USB connection with the computer. And then to get all of this working in with the fortune teller code and the facial recognition code, we had to tie it in so that when the facial recognition code was taking pictures, the servo in the neck would center into the user, allowing it to take stable pictures, and then that would tell the Arduino microcontroller to allow the motors to move again. And I will pass it off again to Adam.
In the design analysis, we began by analyzing the strength of the arm. The arm is a 2-inch PVC pipe that crosses over, and we were trying to figure out, will that PVC pipe handle a significant load? And so we did a SolidWorks static analysis of applying 100 pounds of force on the sides of the arms, say if someone is trying to push themselves up. And then we found that there was a factor of safety of about 3, so we didn't need to worry about that. The next thing we were worried about was the tentacle's deflection. We wanted it to deflect enough where it looked like a real live tentacle, but not too much where it's just paper. So we analyzed what if the cylinder had the maximum width and what if the cylinder had the minimum width, and we gave it a range of how much deflection it would have. And we found that it would deflect between 2.75 inches and 20 inches, which is a little unrealistic. As you can see from Kevin, the deflection is very minimal. Now I'll pass it on to Ahmad about budget.
After building the fortune teller, our final budget came up to a little bit above $3,300. The bulk of this budget came from using a Surface tablet and a facial recognition code, and then just buying materials otherwise. We estimated the cost at the beginning to be about $3,200, so we exceeded that a little bit because the facial recognition code was a little bit more than we expected. Plus, we had to buy a tablet, which was a little bit more than we had estimated before. Beginning the project, we started with $6,000 because of 3 members that had engaged learning funds at $2,000 each. So we were well within our funds, but our final cost was about $3,300. Now I'll pass it on to Ode to talk about what we look forward to ahead in the final work of this project.
Thank you. So in the process of working on this project over the past year, we learned a couple of stuff. One of them would be that we have to start on prototyping and building our machine a little bit earlier so that we know if there are any problems we can fix later in the production process. Also, we learned how to use Jira consistently, and we learned about using the Scrum methodology, which kept our tasks in line, past, present, and future. We also learned how important it was for lifelong learning as an engineer. Part of the future work that we'd like to see happen on Kevin would be essentially just fixing the fortune teller code and improving onto it, adding in more questions or adding in more fortunes. And also part of that would be improving the Arduino code, adding in more different movements that Kevin would be able to make. Part of the project was having a little bit more movements, but we weren't able to complete all of that. That includes the eye and the chin strap. So adding in a little bit more motors and improving on those would be one thing that we would want to see happen. And also, in general, just making it a little bit smaller, improving on the weight.
Okay. Greetings and salutations. My name is...
What was that? Who is that? Who is that?
I want to talk to you.
Long before the dawn of man's history, I began to learn. Ethically, as well as technologically. And I want to help you. When I activate this machine, it registers infinitesimally a sheer bulk surpassing many million earthly libraries. Aladdin's lamp in a physics laboratory. For an unlocking the mysteries of nature to administer this power for the whole human race.
I'm a stranger in this so-called planet.
Very curious world. Nice climate you have here. High oxygen content.
All I'm asking you to do now is to witness a demonstration of spiritual insight. I take a big pride in my duties.
We're all part monsters and are unconscious. Humankind, the beast.
Elizabeth.
I do.
Yes, say, but yes. Okay. Like, what do I need to do? Okay.
Do you own an iPhone? Then why are you here? Does that theory about your fortune? I'm sure she knows. Okay, this is a very serious question. Have you ever seen a chinchilla? Good, and I pray that you ever shall. If there was a cow that could play the piano, and this cow could play the piano really, really well, would you be jealous? Well, then you must be quite the musician. Silence is the true friend that never betrays.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. That is awesome.